So, welcome and thank you to the organizers for including a film that's quite special for me personally. I find it quite an important film. And I want to begin on that note because I think the reason I find this film really special is that, and that's the direction in which I want to push you to talk a bit, is the fact that this film is quite an important break from the conventions of the documentary within South Asia. The history of the political independent documentary movement in India comes out of a need to give a voice to the dispossessed, to the marginalized, to sort of give space for them to tell their stories. And here you have a film that has the very disembodied voices of the people in the margins of Bangalore city to talk about not their reality, but their dreams, their fantasies. And all of this is transposed on images of labor of the city, which in a sense, how can it be anything other than pure realism? But in the manner in which it is edited, even those very realist images and tropes that we are used to are cut in a particular way to sort of distance you from the realism and take you into a realm to think about the city, the dispossessed, the marginalized, which is hard to pin down, And I think for me that was really what was important, because there was a certain convention of this is now the only way to frame the dispossessed and the marginalized, and these are the only questions that you need to ask them. You need to ask them about their reality. So you've sort of created a break with both. So my first question to both of you actually, because also to Paramita, because I'd seen some of the rushes, and most of your frames were, when you were filming work, was to already create a distance. Even it's not just the editing, but even in the way you framed it. So when did this position of this is the way forward in your film language, at what point did it all come together for you? Of course, you might want to even talk about why migration, why Bangalore, why metro, the whole Tin Sheet project, but because most of that, in a sense, informs the form informs the way that research takes up. So if you could speak on that.
Okay. So that's a lot of questions. I'm just trying to get my head around it. But actually, I'd like to start by saying that for Yashu and me, it was very clear that we wanted to break the binary of the worker itself falling into this trap of the marginalized victim, all of these conventional understandings of worker, and or the heroic image of the worker. We wanted to find him in obscure places. We wanted to find him in his preoccupations, when he's spacing out, when he's really wanted to try and enter the realm of the subconscious. And for me, this film is located there. And somewhere I feel that the ghost is a metaphor that we use in this film, particularly because it's used more as a we wanted to consider or think through how the worker, the ghost is a metaphor for the ghost, for the worker itself, who is in the city. It's not only that he's invisible, but I think his ghostly presence perhaps should create this moment of like this moment of disbelief almost. So when people are in the metro station, can they still sense the worker, although he's not there? So we wanted to try and work with these other thematics, because most of the workers that we were meeting are not permanently here. They're here today, they're gone tomorrow, they're untraceable, and they don't want to be part of any union. It's a very different worker that we're talking about. So this is a worker who feels free, who feels exploited, it's a whole bag of things, right? So we found his identity itself very, very complex. So in order to understand the complexity of his identity, I think the metaphor of the ghost also came to us naturally in our research process, because most of the times we would have freewheeling conversations with the workers, and I just needed to, for example, Surinder, who comes in the end, I just had to ask him like, so do you believe in ghosts? Like it was a very random question, and there was a 2 hour, almost a 2 hour kind of conversation that followed. So there were lots of things which kind of questioned where they come from and how they find their sense of belonging. And I think I just like to end this by saying, and this response by saying that I really feel that this, to confront the ghostly, is also a way to understand the sociological realm that we are currently engaging with. So haunting as another lens to understand the spaces that we inhabit is, I think, where we started to think through the edit and the structure of the film, because I feel it's completely, it's an important turn to understand where we live and how we see the city that we live in, considering it's all in pieces and etc.
Also, I think one of the things that also, according to me, what we say is out of the reality. What we are talking about is their reality, which is the space that they are coming from. For them all, I mean, there is no difference in the sense that it's, in my head, it wasn't really a fantasy film, because there is, what they're talking about is very, very real. In terms of the stylistic approach, I think it was more a collaboration, because I got sort of complete freedom, and I think when shoots, it was more like a jam, because the sound guy was there, and Buddha would be at some point recording sound, and we went in all these odd hours, but we had a lot of discussions about the style, and we were kind of, I think when we started the film sort of looked very different, because it was being shot like, I was shooting it in a very conventional way, and I think there was a turning point where we had a lot of discussions, and it was kind of clear that we are going to go and look at other ways of shooting. So we started to play a lot with lights, and if you walk into these kind of spaces, it's almost like, I felt like it was like a set. One doesn't need anything else, the lights, the worker, the stuff that's happening there. It was almost like a fictional set that I walked into. So automatically, the images that are going to come out of that kind of space was fictional, fantasy. So I think, yeah, from the beginning, the space lended something like that. And for me, it was at a distance, Surbhi, but it was always like dancing with the worker and the work that they are doing. The camera was literally sort of dancing in many ways with the worker itself.
One of the things that happened with this film was, I think there was a lot of, backlash is a strong word, but there was a lot of discomfort with this, with what you were doing in the film. And I think at some level that discomfort got articulated as you have essentialized and romanticized the worker. And given that you had spent so much time with the workers and had actually become very close to the workers. Again, the interviews were shot very, very intimately. So in the editing itself, it must have been a difficult decision to separate yourself from that and distill a certain conceptual idea and work your film with that, which of course is one of the reasons why a lot of people said that, hey, what kind, what are you doing? But if you could speak about that process, because I do know this was not a film shot, as a fly-by-night, take few shots of work, beautiful shots of workers working, and collect random sound bites from here and there, and put it together to make a very pretty film. This came out of very, very, very long engagement with individual workers, not just a larger team. So if you could talk about that movement.
Yeah. I think that we did receive a lot of backlash, and it's not a very, I just think that people were not prepared to look at this image of the worker as well. And we wanted to take that risk because the process really brought us here. So just to recap very quickly, I think this is a very, very personal film. It's not that we wanted to make a film about workers. It actually starts from our own sort of disillusionment at the breakdown of Bangalore, which of course started from a very nostalgic, like we just saw places in the city just go, like disappear, and that then moved into us protesting, and we were at most of the protests trying to save trees or trying to go against the metro, blah blah blah, and it really kind of caused a mental disturbance in my head. Personally, it was really disturbing to come back home feeling these battles, because we just wait at the tree, guarding it for 3 hours, and we just got to have coffee, and the tree officer has just given permission to cut off the tree, which is just annoying. Because, so yeah, and then yeah, so even the workers, and what happened was, one of the protests, I think the workers came up, I mean, we ended up having this brief chat with the workers, and they said that, when are you guys going to be done? We need to get to work. So that kind of really, I think, opened up a whole new space for us, and I thought, we said that, okay, let's not get caught in this narrative of Bangalore also as this old green, beautiful Bangalore versus IT city, etc. And then how do we take it forward from there and go into this space of the labor colony? And the labor colony emerged as this really unknown, transient space, very quiet, very, very quiet, because no one spoke to each other in the labor colony. Everyone is a stranger there, all coming from different parts of the country. None of them are local. Most of them are from the northern part of India, and they all stay in their own little 10 by 10 rooms, and it's very quiet. They go to work, come back, there's no interaction with the city, there's nothing going on. So it was interesting to also make, I mean, it was the point of us getting in touch with them. They also were a bit intimidated when people from the city were coming and talking to them, but it worked. We just had to stay at the chai spot, that's it. So there were a lot of workers coming in, we had a lot of tea with them. At which point we realized that we wanted to make this film as a response to how the city was also changing. So it is at that moment where we felt like the story of the city can be actually told from the point of view of the worker. So, the relationships with the workers also got extremely rich, I would say, and most of these conversations led to spaces that, because our research process, the thing with the workers is also that it's not like they're here forever, like, so we would just build up a relationship, say for about 2 months, and the next thing we know is we'll just get a call when we're just at the moment that we may want to shoot, and they'll be like, हाँ कल निकल रहे हैं.
I think every shoot literally was almost like, okay, we are leaving tomorrow, so we were like, now we
have to run. So it was really like, you can't really tell how long they'll be. It's very, very unpredictable. Most of the stories that we got also were, we started to find thematics around the way people, there was, of course, so there were some workers who just wanted to talk a lot about love, and a lot of them started telling us about their sexual fantasies, and it happened as part of a conversation, not as though I went and said, what are your dreams? Yeah, I didn't have a list of questions, but it just emerged as part of conversations, and it all tied into this, I don't know, like we could come back to the edit table and sort and sift these things in different, I guess, different ways. And I think in Transience, the first film was just an experiment of trying to put all the different stories together. This one has a haunting, it's trying to explore the haunting aspect of the worker as well as the city in flux. And the third one that we made called Distance is around love and longing. And hopefully there'll be more.
So, open it out to the audience. Just a small thought actually, that I was glad you brought up the idea of nostalgia prompting you to start this film process, because yesterday we were speaking a lot about nostalgia and loss and memory, and I feel it's really important to sort of work on the idea of nostalgia and then take it and make it into something else, and not, it would have been very possible for you to make a film about a certain nostalgia and longing for the Bangalore you grew up in, which was changing literally on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, it's an experience that we all share, but what about it? What do we do with it? Which is why I think this becomes an interesting way of thinking about it. But sorry, I'm opening it up.
Just to say one thing, that I think the departure from nostalgia was exciting for us, because I think for us to make sense of the present tense was actually this really strange space. So we really wanted to explore what does it mean to actually be in this present tense.
Talking strictly in terms of how you shot the movie, it's beautifully shot, first of all, congratulations on that. I just want to know, there are some shots for example, the shot of the shadow of a tree falling on a wall, and then there's that silhouette shot of a man standing at the balcony of a half-constructed building. Were these shots you had already researched and then decided that you'd take them like that, or did you just happen to come across visuals like that when you were there? Or
We had spent a lot of
Sorry, we're recording it. That's fine.
We had spent a lot of time in the space, so I mean, I think these shots came after maybe 7-8 months or after 1 year of shooting and of being there. So the style was defined, and then, but to be very honest, like when we shot the entire film without any permission. So when we were there, our strategy was always like, I wouldn't get more than 20 minutes in some places. So Ekta and Yashu would be distracting. The guys would come and say, you can't shoot, and that was my time to shoot. So it wasn't that planned, because there was no space. Like, you can plan, yeah, I mean, and on top of that, not having permission at all, we were kicked out from every place that you shot. So.
And yeah, the sequence that you were referring to about the black and white time lapse, that is something that came post the shooting. That's planned. That's something that Amit shot actually. But that's something that we want, because we felt that it wasn't enough for us to just have these stories, and we wanted something to just create this sudden like moment of disbelief, or I don't know, free fall, or some kind of a, I don't know, just some kind of a, huh? Yeah, even the photographs that follow, to create this kind of discomfort, almost as an interruption, a conscious one.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, in your engagement with the workers, I'm guessing you engaged a fair bit with both men and women, right?
Well, in this context, there are no women in any of the labor colonies, because they're all they're migrant workers who are not supposed to come with their families. So if you come with your families, then basically you're very distracted. So the idea is that you try and work as much as possible, and that's really your, please don't come with your family. So it's discouraged.
But what about like women laborers? Did you, I mean, encounter?
Mostly runaway lovers.
Okay.
2-3 of the workers had brought their runaway lovers, and even they returned after some time. One of the workers got married in the labor colony because so I mean, they're not here to work. The workers, the labor colony. So there are some people from North Karnataka, Raichur and Gulbarga and things like that, but that's also seasonal. It's not like they're here for the whole time. So they're discouraged, I would say. They probably will be in Delhi or something. Also, just to explain this, maybe one more point is that the way this is happening is such a large scale, the migration is happening at such a large scale that if these men are leaving for about a year, they don't know which city they're going to be in. Their wives, they were probably back home and they're looking after their kids. So there has to be someone at home, because there's another family structure that's there that they have to look after. So that's still on. Some of the women migrate and they work, it's only seasonal with the women.
Also,
Yeah.
this is largely for the metro. So
It's not the
it's
construction.
not because
So there is,
yeah.
like, I mean, that must be part of the construction industry
Yeah,
that
yeah.
uses women.
Yeah.
No,
But
there
this
are-
is
but it's
specifically.
It's specifically a certain kind of
Right,
contractor.
so it is kind of like polarized.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean, this is
yeah.
just men.
Yeah. And these are labor colonies that would sort of keep shifting even from, as she said, city to city, not en masse, but it's a very different kind of circuit with X number of contractors and so
Yeah, because at smaller level construction sites,
Yeah.
sometimes all you find out
Women, absolutely. But they wouldn't be living in these organized labor camps. So it's
They'll probably be local, I guess.
Yeah.
Mostly coming from at least satisfied.
also migrant, but the way the workers are organized there would be very different.
Here there's a line of subcontractors, right? So it starts from Jharkhand and there'll be some 40-50 guys by the time this person has reached Bangalore. So there are many layers to this beautiful informal network actually of migrant workers in the city that no one can trace, and thank God for that.
You were talking about the permission part, so my question pertains to the logistical challenge which you may have faced. So shooting in the night, was there any problem, people coming to stop you from shooting? Like there was one shot on the MG Road side which you had taken in the dark, probably it's in the night. So.
I think in fact shooting in the night was the easier ones because
Was the
all
easier one, right?
guys who we need to get permission were not there.
We're not there,
Yeah, so we would go at like 11, 12 and
11,
they're
12
still
and
the
then-
night shift.
So what, you walked all the way? I mean, because that time the stair, because it was all under construction, right? You can't even
Yeah,
go
I mean,
to the-
basically, you have to make up fiction to make documentary films. So we were telling a lot of people that we want to shoot sunsets, and we are students from wherever, and we're trying to shoot this sunset because we're making a film about the sun. So we just made up a whole lot of fictional stories, and there's a lot of cheating also, right? Because it's really like hide and seek, literally. Because if I'm, like she said, I'm distracting this guy who's trying to give me permission, at which point Rumpi is already shooting. So, and then we're just like, thank you, yeah, fir milenge types, and you just exit. So it's not, I mean, we just gave up on trying to ask for permissions also, because that's just not the way we wanted to also go about things, because then things would get more contrived.
Yeah,
And
you become visible.
Yeah,
because
we
the
become
moment
visible.
You become visible, then your agenda has to be made visible, and then gets into another set of problems.
And also with the DSLR cameras, we kept telling them we're taking only pictures, so they would really believe us. And they just thought we said, wo Bangalore ka view dekha hai upar se, and all that. So it works sometimes.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks
Here
a lot,
with your
Surabhi.
lovely film.
Thanks a lot for hosting us, and it's really nice to have Surabhi to respond to it yet again.
Yet again.